Christian Ligori here with a different kind of guitar lesson this time. This time I'll be talking about how to play a little bit of rhythm for swing guitar and for rockabilly and rock and roll. Now, rockabilly, rock and roll, jazz, swing, they're all related. They all come from the same roots, the same beginnings. A lot of them have the same types of phrasings. Some of the chords may be different, and some of the standard things that you might play sound different, but the theory is still the same. So, basically, a very important chord in the rockabilly type of sound, and for that early swing sound, is basically a chord that has the shape of a major 7, except you're not going to use the C as a root. You could put the C instead of the 5th string on the 3rd fret, which would be a C major 7, you're going to put it on the G, which making it a G chord because I was playing in the key of G. It's making it sound like... You hear it on a lot of the 50s recordings. You hear it on a lot of big band swing recordings too, in the background with rhythm. So basically, you go. So it's like bop, 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 bop. You know, because the drums usually you'll hear that snare like, or in a slow swing, be like. So basically what I'm doing is it's just a 3-chord progression, which a lot of the, especially the rockabilly stuff, only has 3-chord progression. Swing might get a little bit more complicated with more chords, but this is a basic lesson, so I won't go into a huge amount of chords. Just gonna stay with the standard 3 chords. It's basically just the G, the C9 or the C7. If you're playing rockabilly or swing, I would prefer to play 9ths. They sound better. And then D9. Then you're not going back. Sometimes it goes back to the C, then to the G. But most progressions in this type of music just go. Back to the G. So by utilizing these chords, you can make a nice rhythm for a basic swing or a rock and roll or rockabilly song. The slides are always very good. They you know, it's better than just playing. It sounds better when you go. And for the 9ths, the same thing. So the sliding of the chords from flat to major in rock and roll rather than sharp to major in a lot of jazz stuff will make your swing or rock and roll guitar sound pretty good. So you got to keep in mind too that it's rock and roll is a little bit different than jazz, though I prefer to play jazz over anything. You know, rock and roll is pretty cool too. You can do some cool stuff with it. You know, there was a lot of good artists and a lot of good innovators of guitar, such as Scotty Moore, who was Elvis's first lead guitar player. Elvis was a key essential in creating the new rock and roll sound. Other essentials would be Eddie Cochran, the great Gretsch player. That's the type of guitar I use, a Gretsch. Very versatile, very good for jazz, blues, any rock, anything you want to play. Um, you know, a lot of different people. Chet Atkins, who was a little bit more country influenced, but he also could swing. So basically, um, just a simple three chord progression, and just basically you got to practice is keeping the time. Just listen. A great example of this would be listening to "Rock Around the Clock" by Bill Haley, which would be, instead of being in G, you'd be in the key of A. Same structure, just the same major seven type structure, with the root being on the A, making it a dominant A chord instead of a D chord, and is using your basic ninths, or sevens could work too, but the ninths sound more authentic. So so just playing along with that, you should be able to get a pretty good idea of what I'm talking about as sound. Now, the tones that you can create with this are, you don't need the best amp. I would prefer, if you're playing out, I would use a decent amp. I'm just using a practice amp here, which is okay. But if you have a Fender amp, that would be very good for this type of music, because that's what all the old rock and roll guys played on Fender amps. The best part is that you don't really need any floorboard or effects for this. There are floorboards and effects that make it sound really authentic, like the records, but all you really need to do is crank up your reverb and have all your other settings just basically halfway, like your mid, your treble, and your bass. Um, you know, that's really it. There's no overdrive, no nothing. It's just reverb, and it just makes it sound nice because it's clean. Because that's the thing about clean playing, is that you actually get to hear what you're playing on the guitar. You know, I'm not saying that the fuzz isn't cool. When you do all your blues, and you have like the fuzz, but clean playing is cool too, and that's something that people should realize. So one more time, I'm gonna do it with the slides, my major seventh, and my ninth chords. I'm gonna show you with the slides. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, this chord that I'm playing here is the 6/9 chord. This chord is used a lot in rockabilly and in swing. I showed it on my previous videos with the jazz lessons, because I think it's cool to add into some jazz stuff too, to dissolve. It's just you usually use to dissolve a guitar solo or dissolve a song totally, and it's basically, as I showed you in my other videos, it's basically on any fret that you're at, is the sixth and the fifth the first and the second strings are barred with your ring, and then on the fret before, your third, fourth, and fifth are barred, making it like that. And they're movable, and it sounds cool when you go again with your sharp or flat, or I like it better in the rock and roll and rockabilly thing to do from flat to major. So, ending a song would be cool doing you go to the chord, the key that it's in, then one before, and then back to the major, then all the way up to the neck equivalent on the high end of the guitar, and that really dissolves the song cool. So, and if you have a whammy bar on your guitar, this is a Bigsby. You can use that too. It has a really cool sound, and when you do guitar solos and even just chords too. So, if you're a real rockabilly player interested, this would be a nice guitar for you. It's very versatile. You can play anything on it. It's a Gretsch Electromatic. But any guitar will suffice. It doesn't really matter. But others, usually guitars with humbucker pickups will sound a little bit more better than using like a Strat or a Telecaster that has the coil pickups. You can still get the effect if you have floorboards, but this will make it have a more authentic sound if you use something like a solid body Gretsch or a Les Paul. And obviously, the best would be if you had a hollow body guitar like a 335 or a Jazz Box. That's what all those guys use. So basically, just keep on practicing your chords and your basic rhythms, and that's what it's really all about. You really got to get your chords down first before you can do anything else. So keep on picking. All right. Until next time.